Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in our OpenCities user webinar. This is the last one for 2022. So we are happy that you can all find some time today. Our agenda is, as usual, gonna start with a short introduction from our commercial director, Håkan Engman, and some marketing and sales insights. And then we changed a bit the order. So today we are having user stories. We have presentations, guest presenters that are going to share their projects and their work. So we are delighted that we are having Kim from Sydney Airport, winners in Bentley's Year Infrastructure in Facilities, Cities and Campuses category this year. Then we will follow up with Angie from ALab, a user that is joining us today from Norway. And we will end up with Jesper from NIRAS in Denmark. Then Johan Göransson, our product manager, is going to give you some updates on our product news and what is in development in OpenCities. And we will finish up this session with some question and answers from you. You can leave the questions during the presentation in the chat, and we will address all of them after everyone's presentations. Before moving on and hand it over to Håkan, I would like to remind you that, as always, you can sign up for our users newsletter. I'm gonna paste the link here on the chat, but also keep in mind that every quarter that we have these users newsletters, you receive a notification on the blog posts in the editor interface. In general, visit our blog post to see all the updates and the releases that we have. If you have faced any problem, any issue, something is not working, you have a bug to report, or maybe even a suggestion, visit our direct support button in the top right corner in the editor interface and send us a support ticket. And as always, you can join our forum and access all OpenCities related questions, issues, and what other users are mentioning. So once again, thank you for joining us today, and I will ask Håkan to share his screen and start his presentation. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, very good. All right, so Håkan Engman, Commercial Director. I'm going to give some perspective of the OpenCities and how this fits into the Bentley portfolio of products and mention some things that we talked about at the year in infrastructure as well. But we have an exciting program, so let's kick off. So what we are trying to achieve with the urban digital twin and the OpenCities is very much to go from file-based to data-driven architecture and way of working. The OpenCities is very much to provide this holistic view of the infrastructure, the city or the campus, and to support us to access critical data, but also to support decisions and automate processes and workflows, as well as the communication to get engagement in the organization. So when it comes to digital twin principle, how we see it is very much to help you build and maintain the digital version of asset and infrastructure. It's also within that to connect and federate multiple data formats and sources, and to provide this visualization and visual and spatial context of combined data for improved decision making. And of course, to provide possibilities to do queries and analysis and simulation, etc., from this data and holistic digital twin. And of course, to do this integration with other systems, we will see some examples in the presentation later on that as well. And this running on a cloud solution to actually cater for scalability, growing with lots of data and increase the level of traffic and engagement and users connected, from pilots to enterprise deployment. So one of the core foundation in Bentley for and also in OpenCities is the iTwin platform, our core platform to have inbuilt connectors to various formats and kinds of data. It also has kind of validation and change history and change control, etc., of data, as well as the visualization part to provide access to the data easily and the federated data in context. This platform serves OpenCities and many other applications in Bentley, but also provided as a third-party platform, so third-party developer can develop their own applications using the iTwin platform. So some of the recent year in infrastructure, the big event where we invite users to propose their projects, and we will see some examples later. So Sydney Airport as one example. We also did some kind of vision and launch of strategies and the iTwin platform, very central. We're talking about improving as well the link from the desktop application, all the expert tools that we provide in the portfolio, as well as all the information management for project delivery, the project-wise, and the also for construction management and the asset performance products. So again, the iTwin platform is very central to this. We also talked about the IoT platforms. We have now part of our familiar and portfolio products to do real-time condition monitoring and also support for many types of sensor types, etc., to connect IoT sensors and feeds to do monitoring and to improve the digital twin perspective of situational awareness. And so this is a very interesting product. Also the iTwin Capture, this is based on the existing technology for processing and reality modeling, etc., to combine and to create mesh models and handle reality data properly and manage those and to serve those into applications like OpenCities and other products. It was also mentioned the iTwin experience, and this is a solution that that is going to be leveraging a lot of the capabilities of OpenCities and to serve different applications in different industries, etc. So more to come next year about this, but it's a pleasure to see the OpenCities being so influential in this portfolio. Just to summarize again, we always target the outcomes and being the cost savings and efficiency improvements of implementing our solutions. Also for the collaboration and transparency to actually increase the awareness and and easy access and the engagement of all staff and also communication between different departments and organizations. And of course, being a platform for a further digital transformation into the growing demand and more automated and more efficient workflows. So that was my introduction. So please, Dora.
As I mentioned, we have Sydney Airport winners in Year Infrastructure in the Facility, Cities and Campuses category. Kim is going to present their project, and then we will move to Angie Arroyo Mendez from A-Lab in Norway, and we will finish our presentations with Jesper Rasmussen from NIRAS. So thanking you once again for taking accepting our invitation and sharing your insights, your work, your process, and everything you want with our users. And to remind to the rest of you joining us today that you can always submit your projects if you want to communicate your work with the rest of OpenCities users. So Kim, you can be free and share your screen now.
What I was going to do is play the video that we had part of our presentation, because it only runs about 3.5 minutes, and then that way I've got time to answer any questions that come up from the video. Is that sound okay?
Yes, that sounds perfect, and thank you.
Okay, I'll just start the video.
Staff at Sydney Airport know the OpenCities platform as Maps at Syd. It is essentially Sydney Airport's version of Google Maps, which enables a diverse range of users to navigate their way around the campus, finding information specific to their department and role, whether that be out in the airfield, within buildings or terminals, or details on projects and developments. All buildings have been captured within our GIS, and the search function enables buildings to be located on criteria such as number or name, with links to photos. Aircraft bays can also be located, with links to documentation such as the apron operational procedures. On the airfield, there are over 6,000 lights to help with navigation of aircraft. Operational staff can use a tablet in the field to locate and obtain information about each light, with links to maintenance sheets showing the cables to and from pits. Maps at Syd allows users to view all in-ground services, creating an overall picture of the existing infrastructure. Understanding the location of these services is essential, particularly for project managers when trying to understand the impact a development or project will have in a particular area. Essentially, creating a dial before you dig scenario. Firefighting hydrants and valves can be located, with links to multiple photos to help with identifying the feature in the field. Prior to the implementation of Maps at Syd, project managers would utilise our digital print room, downloading multiple static PDFs and piecemeal them together to tell the story, often followed by a request to the spatial team to create an overlay view of the proposal. In the Check My Development site, project managers have the ability to overlay projects with flood studies, environmentally significant areas, and heritage sites. Operational impacts on a project, such as the airspace obstacle limitation surface and noise contours, can also be turned on. Historical images can be displayed, confirming how previous construction projects have altered the campus over time. With the aid of OpenCities and the Check My Development site, project managers can now view all projects and choose their own adventure, negating the overlapping of projects, saving both time and resources. From the airport-wide sites, portals can be clicked on to zoom into terminals, car parks and offices. In each of the portals, architectural floor plans, door numbers and area classifications can be found for each level of the building. Due to the complexity of the data and user base, links to discipline-specific sites have been set up, providing a role-based experience that works for all. Leasing executives are able to search on a door number, site number or trading name to locate an area and link to the corresponding lease plans. An integration with our Oracle financial database ensures that the trading names of the retail and property tenants, whether that be within terminals or externally, are automatically updated. Using the same data feeding Maps at Syd, graphs and charts have been created in Power BI for easy analysis of commercial information, such as retail areas and numbers of parking spaces. We've provided multiple ways of getting to specific information so that Sydney Airport staff do not have to remember a list of steps to get to the data they require, taking their own path of choice. Distribution boards and the Zones A feed can be viewed by our facilities management team, providing vital information for their role. This also helps our commercial team in ascertaining who will be affected during maintenance shutdowns. They're able to turn on the floor plans above and below the services to see what and who is impacted. OpenCities has provided us for the first time the capability to display BIM and reality models, showing the information without the need for specific software loaded onto individuals' computers. Being able to quality check as-built documentation of services once trenches have been filled is invaluable.
So that's the that's a little video. Are there any particular questions people want me to talk about, or is there anyone out there?
If anyone has any questions, please leave them here on the chat so Kim can ask them. Answer them.
So while I'm waiting, in case anyone's got some questions, I'll just talk about some of the benefits of going to OpenCities. One thing is, and I talked about this in our presentation at Year of Infrastructure, is our spatial team actually have OpenCities open all day. And rather than going through opening and closing MicroStation files to check on data in different files, they simply have OpenCities open and open and turn on different levels in OpenCities. And that saving is about 6 minutes a time. Just question come in. Do you have a team working full-time on Maps at SID? How many people? It's Michael and I, Michael who did the narration on that video, and myself, and we're putting OpenCities together on top of all our other workload. So no, we don't really have a team. It's just the two of us. So the benefits, like I was saying about using it for MicroStation instead of opening and closing MicroStation, is really beneficial. The other thing is static PDFs, which are in our digital print room. We did sort of a time analysis, and we give a set of data to a person that uses both the digital print room and is familiar with the airport, a list of criteria that we asked him to find in the digital print room. And then, even though he had never used OpenCities, we asked him to perform that same search in OpenCities. The difference was 6.5 minutes to find the same data. So if you times that by all the people that are using it, or potentially all the people that are using it, even if they were only to use OpenCities once a day to find that search, that's over 5,000 hours a year saving. Now, given that our commercial team are jumping in and out of OpenCities day in, day out, they'd at least go in it a dozen times a day because they're going in it to get the links to the lease plans. That's 6 minutes a time to find a lease plan. So you can see the benefits of doing this are really just going to compound the more and more people we get onto the system. The other benefit we've found is the collaboration across the organisation. The more people we show it to, the more they start to know what the spatial services can offer them, and they're coming to us with suggestions, which is really good. Any other questions? Okay, so the question is, can I talk about the Maximo integration you're looking at and why? So Bentley have been working with an offsite consultant and our facilities maintenance team to start really, what would you say? It's probably, we've already started what we believe the digital twin to be. The digital twin to me is more about the asset management. And because we already have, say, the 6,500 lights that are in the airfield in our GIS, they're also in Maximo. So one of the things we'd like to be able to do is when a fault is logged in Maximo for one of those lights to be out, that it can automatically show in Maps at SID the fault, which we're hoping to get the connection. The same with computer rooms, virtually any of the equipment that's in our Maximo database. We will be pulling into our GIS system. We already have over 7,000 distribution boards across the 3 terminals that are in our GIS system that, again, are also in Maximo. So if there's a problem with a distribution board, of course, when it's logged in Maximo, it's going to show up in OpenCities. Did I answer that question okay?
I think so.
So virtually for facilities management, asset management.
Thank you, Kim. If we don't have any other questions for now, I think that we can move to the next presenter for today. And then maybe we can just follow up with discussion with more questions. There is only one more question. How many people have access to your project right now, and what's the plan going forward?
Okay, so we have about 200 with access at the moment. So we've just been the last couple of days writing a complete comps plan for 2023, and that's going to start with, in January, we're having what we call SID Talk, where we're going to have a panel of people that are using Maps at SID, and that's going to be open to the entire organisation. And we're going to talk about the benefits of Maps at SID, what it can do for them, etc., etc. That's the first stage. We also have lined up with all the executive assistants across the whole organisation, and starting January, we'll be going along to every single monthly meeting of every single team, and what we're calling it is the Maps at SID Roadshow. So we're taking it around to every single department, showcasing what it can do, asking them how can we make it better to suit their needs. So we're hoping by the end of next year, all 500 employers at Sydney Airport will be using the platform, and then we intend to roll it out to the Federal Police and Emergency Services and our Border Force as well. So we're looking at how we go about giving access to external consultants as well. So, yep.
And one last question. Do you have a record of actual benefits you can share to convince potential customers?
Yes, I can put a couple more slides together. I do have one slide as part of our pack, but some of the savings that you can't sort of put a dollar figure on it. It's just, but we'll talk about benefits as far as say projects, for instance. So we've started putting all the projects in, so you can see the interface of one project over another. So for instance, there might have been a stage where our facilities guys are going, oh, well, there's 3 lifts that need significant maintenance. So they've got them on their maintenance plan, but little do they know that there's a project going on in another department that's going to rip those lifts out. So now using OpenCities for projects, there's a transparency with projects. So putting a dollar figure on that it's pretty hard, but transparency is a really big thing. The other thing, like we were talking about with so the distribution boards, having all the distribution boards in OpenCities, where before an electrician would go out to, say, a tenancy, and then he can now click on a tenancy and find out which distribution board and which substation the power is fed from just by a click of a button, where before that was a case of lots and lots of downloading of PDFs from a print room. So all these little things that it's hard to put a dollar value on it, but when you start talking about it, you realise the benefits. But I could certainly put those sort of examples into a document.
Wow. Thank you, Kim.
Okay.
I think that thank you so much for today's presentation. We will share the link of your video here in the chat for the users. You can just place it here if they want, because some of them had issues to view your presentation. So I think that now we can move to the next guest presenter for the day, Angie from A-Lab from Norway. So Angie, welcome. Can you share your screen?
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. It's so nice to get to share a little bit of our work. A-Lab is an architectural studio based in Oslo where like something like 130 architects with different size and types of projects, which has allowed us to test the OpenCities Planner in different phases. So today I'm going to show you two examples. The first one is a housing project in Kristiansand, a city in the south of Norway. And it was a very important tool for us to communicate with the municipality. This project has the potential to change the urban realities of this community and offering a bunch of new services and the possibility to connect the rest of the city with this part of town. So it's, as you can see in the picture here, it's an old hospital that is going to be rehabilitated and turned into housing. So for us, when you put the data into context, we see that we convert data into information. Let me show you here live what we did for this project. The first thing is that you have the possibility to show everything in the 3D context. This side here that I'm pointing at, that's the project. But normally as architects, we always have the issue that we have to order 3D data really around the building because that's we pay per square meter. So with OpenCities Planner, we have the possibility to see it in the context of the whole city. The first thing we do is to try to remove the buildings that are not that are going to be demolished and immediately turn on the regulation plan. And you can always click on an object and read all the details about it. So very quickly, we can have an overview of what's the framework that we have to start designing this building. And because we were very interested also in what are the limits of the heights the municipality allows us, then we put that maximum volume in 3D. And nevertheless, the nature that you find around, because one of the key aspects of this project is to regenerate the local nature. So very quickly, we had a summary of all the parameters that we had to work with in this project. And of course, after that design process that we have in parallel, we use a lot of different software to model in 3D. Then you can place the proposal within the new building. And as Kim was saying, this creates a very democratic approach to the information because you're not giving them a final point that they can look at. Of course, we use the interactive tools within OpenCities Planner to get to the renders and this finished product, but they can walk around and find these little cameras where they can compare the situation before and after and get excited about the project. But instead of getting one curated angle, they have the possibility to walk around freely, which is always creates this a basis of trust. So we place those strategic renders all around the model where they could see it in real time together with the shadows and so on. This second example, it's a little bit more detailed phase. It's a project that is sitting exactly between two municipalities, Oslo and Bærum here in Norway. And it's a $500,000 development, but we have one specific project, one office building that is a pilot for us, where we have a lot of focus in sustainability. So in this case, what we wanted to do was to take this information and transform it into knowledge because we want to give the client the possibility to look at the project again in the context, but layer up information that could affect all our decisions. So this layer is showing these sound conditions around the site. And it allows you to very quickly browse through your information and help the client to keep track on all these goals that we set up for the project. And then we start layering up all our different analyses on the terrain. So, for example, these are the wind conditions. So they can go closer into the model and look at the specific natural conditions and microclimate analysis that we have done. Here you can compare very quickly the sun hours that you have on the site and the wind conditions. So you can start assigning activities and program based on what is the best activities that fit here. And nevertheless, we have carbon budget that we need to respect through the whole design. So using this possibility to interact with the information directly in the 3D model, the client has the opportunity to follow up themselves. And just to mention, the Oslo municipality during the pandemic stopped accepting physical models. So we have been replacing those models with OpenCities Planner models that they can use and browse themselves. So very
that's what I
easily,
had
because
to
the
learn
learning
for you.
curve
Do you have any
is
questions?
fairly small. So this is kind of like the way how we try to use data that is scattered and that is in many like different PDF files and all drawings and InDesign and all over the place, and try to visualize it and put it all together in an OpenCities Planner and add our meaning and our storytelling to really convert it into knowledge for the client and something they can have access to and share within their own ecosystem.
Our last guest presenter for the day, coming from NIRAS in Denmark, Jesper is with us. So Jesper, please share your screen and start giving us an insight on the work that you're doing.
Yes, okay, thank you very much, Nora. A little bit about NIRAS. Besides struggling with the technology, you can see we are a consulting company working on a global level, and we have a lot of offices and a lot of employees at a global level. So, but we have a lot of fields that we work within, and I'm within the data and digitization group here within NIRAS. So that's just a brief walkthrough of where we are with the NIRAS. So let's jump to the 3D model ecosystem, as we call it. As we see it, it's a question about the data and some hosting services and our clients, which could be mainly the municipalities in Denmark, and of course there is a public part also for this when we are talking about urban planning, which is one of the key subjects to the municipalities that we work with. So we have a number of clients, and we are running services for them. We are producing 3D city models, including terrain models, vegetation, technical layers, and so forth. And we are hosting 3D city models for our clients in a database, a spatial database. So this is a web service solution that we have. So, but let's jump to some of the application areas that we are working with. We have a number of 3D city models for the clients, and they are also running their own portals. We include various kinds of projects in the setup and also for infrastructure. And we have here an example of a mesh model displayed on OpenCities Planner, which is a mesh model for an infrastructure project. And we are working also with analysis of solar potential on these 3D city models and presenting that also on OpenCities Planner. Another example here of a mesh model, and to the right you can see that we are also including some statistical or socioeconomic data register information. And one of the key benefits that we have in Denmark is that there is a lot of open data available, which means base maps, statistical information, register information, planning information, which is accessible to anyone. And we include that as services alongside with our 3D city models that we share on our portals. So just an example here from one of the municipalities, quite similar to what we see and a normal kind of use. That could be all the projects similar to what we also heard from Norway. And that could be displayed, of course, with the new developments to be included, so we can see before and after in this situation. So that's one of the ways that we do, but one of the recent activities that we are running is trying to do solar analysis to calculate the total potential within a municipality. That could be 25,000 or 40,000 buildings that we do these analysis on, and it also include actually some other Bentley software and third-party software, and to display that on the buildings, including all the information, is quite interesting to some of the clients that we work with, and that will be clients both in the public sector and also in the municipality or private companies. Just a brief view here. We have a 3D city model, and if we don't have a 3D city model, we can use the open data from the National Digital Elevation Model and create a roof theme that we will run the solar analysis on. But if, as it is the case for some of the municipalities that we have already, we can use their existing 3D city model. So there's a variety of potential here for doing this. And all that information is important because that could be both displayed here on OpenCities Planner. It's maybe not the best colors here, but it indicates the slope and direction and the total amount of energy that could be extracted throughout the year from these roofs if there are some solar panels attached to it. So, and we use that information also in the GIS for analysis here. It includes how much the potential is of megawatts per year and so forth, the area, the total area of the roof that indicates and so forth. All that kind of information is also calculated in our GIS solution, and yeah, you can add various values to that and so forth. So these kind of analysis and displaying through OpenCities Planner is a way that we see this will work also in the future for our clients, make it much more visible both to them internally in the organization, but also to the public if that's taken further. What we intend to do also is, at least for a showcase example, is to include the solar panels that we have on top of our building here at the headquarters of NIRAS, and we have real-time information from the solar panels, and it can be displayed both the capacity of the individual parts of the solar set up there, and also maybe to see if there are some of the panels that does not work properly, so we can go through this. Of course, if it is on top of a building, it's possible to just to go to the roof. But if you have offices at national level, maybe 20 or 40 offices, it could be monitored from one point and directing the staff to have a look at it. Another area that we work in is creating this total ecosystem for our urban planners using other kinds of software that could be SketchUp or any other solution with this, what we call the parametric modeling, which is an efficient work tool for toolbox for the planning, our urban planners, because it can draw directly from the public registers, which include planning information. You can retrieve the PDF documents and so forth, but you can also calculate the effects of a given design of an area within this, and it also includes some dashboard information and so forth. And that leads to how it will be displayed, hopefully, if this works. It can be dragged and dropped directly into OpenCities Planner. So it's an efficient tool for the planners, both in the sketching activity, but also going public with this kind of information, because you can have these real-time information or these signs displayed on the portal as well. So this is the total ecosystem that we are running for within the urban planning departments in the municipalities that we work for. I think that was the last one. Yeah. Thank you very much.
If anyone has any questions for Jesper right now, if not, you can just leave them here on the chat and we will address them after Ewan's presentation. Ewan is going to give us an insight of all the project news and everything that we have in development. So Ewan, you can hack the screen and start sharing your part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dora, and thanks to all our great presenters. Very interesting and insightful to see how you use OCP to create value. That's great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the updates that we have been doing since last webinar, which was in October. The first thing is something we have developed, something that I hope you guys will never have to experience, actually, and that is these error screens, which will be displayed if we are experiencing technical difficulties, problems. This is something we want to be better at. If we, this is software. Things can happen. This is technology. It is difficult to guarantee 100% smooth sailing with any technology. But when errors occur, we want to be good at communicating that to our users. So this is a step in that direction. If we are experiencing technical difficulties, we can now trigger these warning screens to let you guys know that we are aware and that we're working on these issues. There are two ways or kind of two screens that you might see. One is partial technical difficulties. It might be that we experience longer loading times, or certain parts of the system is kind of not functioning properly, but you can still use it. Then you will have this blue button that lets you continue to the service anyway. And we can also have this complete failure. For instance, if something in the Azure environment completely breaks and it stops us from operating anything, then we will display the other page with no possibility to continue. So I'm reading the chat comment here by Vincent. Yes, I agree that's a good idea to have a game that you can play and win some coupons. But anyway, this is a step in the direction of better communicating when we are experiencing troubles. Another thing that we have been working on is in the mobile interface. We have developed a locate me button, so a user can actually see their location in the map if they're using the mobile version. This serves, for instance, use cases that I think Sydney will have, where they have field workers on the campus or on the airport, and they need to see where they are in relation to an asset or something that they will be performing maintenance work or things like that. But of course, this also helps if you are a citizen, you're out in the city looking at product developments that the city has published. Now you can put yourself, see exactly where you are in relation to this development. We're targeting a release in January for this. For iModels, we have added configuration possibilities if you have files that are not georeferenced directly, but rather georeferenced by reference. So for instance, Revit files, they can be very difficult to georeference. So a typical way to do that is to have a DVG file that actually contains the georeferencing for the Revit files. And when you upload these files together, you can now pick that the DVG file has the georeference, and then the Revit file will be positioned correctly. This wasn't possible before. It was possible. You had to go through the iTwin Synchronizer, which is a desktop tool to upload and create iModels. But now you can do that directly in OCP by just dragging and dropping all the files that are related to each other at once, and then pick which one has the coordinate reference. You can also select for a file that has a common common extension like DVG or DGN that can come from multiple design applications. For instance, a DGN can be created in MicroStation directly, or it can come from Open Roads, Open Buildings Designer. And for those types of files, you might want to specify which connector to use. That means you might want to identify which design application this file is coming from, because if you don't, then you might risk losing data that's specific to that DGN, depending on which design application it came from. So that's also something that we're looking to release in January. A bigger task that we have been working on is to do somewhat of a refresh on the interface of OpenCities Planner, and primarily the front end, the project view experience. So this project view experience or interface that we're looking at on screen right now, that was kind of designed in 2015, 2016, and it has evolved over time. But we see now that we wanted to do kind of a bigger job to modernize it a little bit, and also to serve our users who have lots of content that they want to communicate to their users. It's an evolution, not a revolution. So we're not completely redesigning it. We're more evolving the interface to better serve the purposes that we want to address. So here is roughly what it will look like. We are still having the friendly buttons and the friendly colors and nice icons, but we are going to remove the ribbon, which is the part downstairs here, and instead we're going to make that into similar circle buttons here. The idea here is to have room for more buttons, more icons, so it doesn't collapse into the layer menu so quickly. We're also moving the toolbar up on top, and we are merging different components that were kind of spread out. Like we had the settings icon was down here, we had the toolbar here, and then we had the compass up here. So we're kind of merging them into one component that sits up top, and it's kind of more standard to what you would see in a WebGIS application anyway. And then labels would appear as the user moves towards this side. So they're not in the way when the user is just navigating. Instead, they will appear when the user needs to see them. And that means that we can now support longer labels as well. In the old legacy interface, we kind of were limited to shorter text, but this will support longer labels without getting in the way for the user. So just a few short videos showing where we are with the interface implementation right now. So it's very similar to what we have, but it's an evolution. It's a little bit cleaner, a little bit more modern. We can see that we're dropping the opacity of the buttons to make them stand out a little bit more, to make it a little bit more clearer to the user. This is the behavior of the toolbar. So your users are not going to be completely shocked when they see this. Hopefully this will be a nice improvement that feels familiar already for your users. And that's it for me. Dora?
Thank you, Johan. And thank you everyone for presenting today. So as I said before, you can send us an email and propose your projects for next webinar. In 2023, of course, we're going to have like 4 webinars every quarter. So the next one will be around March. So just be prepared and let us know if you want to share your story and use cases. So if we have any questions, please share them here on the chat so we can address them. I think Vincent had a question. Was it for Angie? Angie, I don't know how to pronounce your name exactly.
Angie, like the Rolling Stones song,
Angie.
you know?
Okay, great.
Yeah, I see it. I didn't have an example of reality capture in this particular project, but we have used it before through the iTwin module. So from a laser scanning directly into the model, it works fairly well.
Good. Anyone else? Maybe I can answer Craig's question. Are we limited to one layer level in groups using the new interface? No. So we are unlocking another level actually. So right now we have the option to have layers in a group, but we want to have groups in a group as well. So we are adding another level inside of that. That is kind of the motivation for doing the new interface, because more and more of our users are having more complex interfaces. They need to put more information in the buttons, and right now our interface doesn't really support that. So it will not only have smaller buttons, so there can be more buttons in the interface, but also when you click on the button, it will have more complex menus, which will support another level of these groups and groups as mentioned. Thank you, Irma. Anyone else? Okay, so since we are on time, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. You will find the recording after this session. We will also upload this on our help section in OpenCities Planner, in our YouTube channel, and you will also receive an email notification when the recording will be ready for everyone to use. And feel free to share it with more people within your organization. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, guest presenters, for today. And we hope that you have Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone, and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you so much.